working that business like a rodeo queen. She's got fire, got grit.
I am super excited to be here today. We're going to go through a lot, so don't get overwhelmed if you're just like, there's so much information being spewed at me. If you want a piece of paper to jot down some things you learn, that's great. We will have a worksheet that's going to help you kind of get a little bit more organized with what you learned today as well. A tip with that worksheet is either to have, you can print off 2 copies or have 2 different colored pens. So you'll kind of fill it out once and then you can fill it out again. That's an option that we'll have. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here in a little bit. And we're just kind of going to go through a PowerPoint and just kind of talk through my story and then how what I've learned as an influencer can apply to you guys as businesses moving forward and kind of mastering Instagram here.
And Faith, I went ahead and dropped the worksheet link in the chat so they can download it.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys we're not going to rush. So just go ahead and grab that worksheet and get organized. If you don't have it printed off right away, you don't need it to like go through the entire PowerPoint, but it'll be a great reference point later kind of at the end. It'll help you most at the end. And it's going to be something that's going to take a lot of time on your own to fill out. But I am going to go ahead and share my screen. So you guys have to bear with me. I am new to Zoom, and sharing screens and all that. So hopefully it'll go well. So just go ahead. Yeah, grab your worksheet. If you don't have it up already, go ahead and work on that. Otherwise, I'm just going to get rolling here because I talk about myself for a while and sometimes that can get boring. So we'll just get going and we'll start from there. So Instagram success. So real quick, why do we use Instagram? There's a lot of reasons as to why we can use it. It's a great form of self-expression. We can use it to get inspiration, feed our creativity, education, networking, and the #1 thing we're going to focus on today is advertising. It is an amazing marketing tool, and it happens to be free. It's easily accessible for everyone, and it's right in your back pocket. So a little bit more on the introduction. My name's Faith. I'm 24 years old. I started Instagram in February of 2020, right before COVID hit. I'm a full-time paramedic, so I do Instagram on the side. I've been in EMS for about 6 years. I actually, fun fact, met my husband and like 5 of my best friends on Instagram, all from networking. So like all my bridesmaids, I've personally met through Instagram, which is kind of funny. And then I was inspired to start by watching other equine pages on Instagram. There's a lot of big horse people out there. They just kind of show their life with their horses. And I saw them be sponsored by a lot of equine products. And I thought, I bet I could do that. How hard could it be? So I really just started out just wanting to focus on horses. And then it changed along the way. And it's been a really fun journey. So I like to make fun of myself a little bit here. On the left, this is the very first picture I ever posted. I was 19. I had no clue what I was doing. I just told my little sister, let's go take a picture. So I laughed looking at it. And then just 2 years later, I got to model for Fallon Taylor and on their newly released ranch dressing collection. And that was a really big deal for me. So the ball really started rolling quickly. And it's been a fun adventure along the way. So anybody can have success with Instagram. I just want to reiterate how much I'm just like an everyday person that just gave this a shot. I do not have a professional camera. I use an older iPhone. I've actually used a cracked, like broken old iPhone XR for like most of my career with Instagram. And then my little sister took a majority of my photos for 3 years. So I had an 11-year-old taking most of my photos, and then I switched to a tripod. But I learned by analyzing others in the industry, and I just kind of figured it out along the way. And then we're almost done. But before I started Instagram, I was actually social media free for about a year. I deleted all the accounts. The only thing I had was Pinterest. And then when I decided to jump back into social media, I was going to go full blown. So I started in 2020, no clue what I was doing, ended the year with 750 followers. The second year, I jumped to 10,000. Third year was 30,000. And then fourth year was 56,000. So as we get going, this is where the workshop starts. So you can take your pen if you have that or if you want to type in a different color font, if you have access to that worksheet, we're going to talk about who our target audience is. So who do you want buying your products and who do you want following your Instagram page? We're going to think about the demographics a little bit. So what's their age? What's their gender? If you want guys and girls buying your products, that's totally fine. Where do they live? And then what hobbies do they do? We're all cowgirls, but that can be really subdivided specifically. There's a lot of ranch riding, there's pro rodeo side of things, barrel racers, just trail riders, not that it's all just horse specific. The fashion industry can get really subdivided as well. So if you have a really specific audience, that's great. And if you have a broader audience, that's okay too. But just have in mind who those people are. I personally, who my audience I want to be is younger, like 25 to 35 or 18 to 35-year-old women. That's who I particularly want my audience to be. And then maybe 25% of that is men, just because when I do have product promotion and I'm selling I'm promoting things like camping chairs, I still want a little bit of my audience to be men. So just think about who you're trying to reach as we move forward. So real quick, we're going to buzz through profile etiquette and what that means. This seems kind of silly to talk about. Some people might think it's a no-brainer, but sometimes it can go over your head. So profile etiquette is what's going to separate your profile when a person comes in and notices it as a professional page versus a business page versus a personal page. So this is just an example of mine. We're also going to make fun of me here in a minute, so don't think I'm tooting my own horn here, but I've got a preset and a filter that's applied on every single photo and reel I make. And the reason I do that is so it looks like I put effort into it. Your eye can kind of cruise around all these photos and not get distracted. It's balanced and it's collaborative, and it looks professional and like a business profile. Now we're going to look at a bad example, which is my personal Instagram, which for friends and family, and it's just kind of feral. Like we're looking all over the place. Your eye doesn't know where to go. It doesn't look like I put effort into it. You just don't even know what's happening. So it can get really unbalanced. It can get really messy, and it cannot make a lot of sense to the eye. So when your followers come to look at your profile, they're going to recognize a professional business profile versus a personal one and how much effort you put into it. So that's just kind of what profile etiquette is. There's a lot more that can go into that, but that's just kind of the basics of how we want to set up ourselves for success when people find us on Instagram. So why does it take so long to grow on Instagram? Instagram isn't easy. The running joke was everybody ran to TikTok because they couldn't make it on Instagram. Another hard part is that social media is constantly changing. When I started in 2020, Instagram was a primarily photo-based app. There was no videos. And then Instagram realized everybody was kind of running to TikTok, so they had to keep up. And they switched all of their content to primarily video-based. So there's a lot going on between photos and videos. And if you didn't jump on the train and learn how to go with the flow, you were going to get left in the dust. So it is hard to get successful. And another thing, I know a lot of you aren't on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok either. But something I like to reiterate is that I don't have the exact parallel kind of equation here. But like 1,000 followers on Instagram is almost equal to like 10,000 followers on TikTok. So it's kind of got its own currency per se. But it also holds more value, I would say, as well, and you can get more benefits from it. So how do we jump into videos and learn how to master that on something that was primarily a photo-based app? So we're going to talk about Reels. Reels are the quickest way to gain followers. People share Reels they like. Do you guys ever send, like, you don't have to answer me, but think about if you ever find Reels or videos that you think are funny, or you think something's cool and you send it to a family member. I know I'm sending people videos like all day. So that's a great way to gain followers. When people like it, they're sharing it, they're sending it. So what kind of videos go viral? And when I use the word viral, it's a very subjective term that can also be viewed as like what videos are successful. And that means anything that is trending. I hate the word trending, but we have to use it. I don't always want to be like the word basic. I don't want to be like everybody else. I don't want to just like follow the masses, but what's trending is really important. And this can include songs and sounds. Do you guys, right now it's like me's more cowboy than you. You guys hear that all the time on the internet right now. That's a trending sound. And if you were to use that, you probably would have a lot more luck using that sound or song versus something else you picked. Comedy will go viral like nothing else. If I made a video one time of me almost falling off my friend's cutting horse just to make fun of myself. It went nuts. Everybody loved it. So comedy does really, really well. And so it's hard to kind of tie in as a business, but you'd be surprised people get really creative. There is that Asian gentleman who sells neon signs. I don't know if you know, he's kind of sweeping the internet right now, but he found a way to make really funny videos to sell his neon signs for his particular audience. And it's working great for him. So something desirable, if you're selling a very unique, awesome product, those videos can go viral if they're produced right. People are going to send it to all their friends and go, hey, you need this. Something relatable. People love to connect and relate to something. So that's something to think about. Day in the life videos, those do wonderful, and they're genuinely kind of low effort. Even if you're a business owner, you're like, here's me packing orders, here's me making this product. People watch it. It's crazy. Get ready with me's. Those do pretty well also. And then something new. If you do come up with something totally out of the box, that can be pretty successful as well. All right, so we're going to get into reels a little bit more. So this is where it's hard to do without a visual, but I want you guys to think about this. Your frames should be short and constantly change. And what I mean by that, when you're watching a movie, even if it's a simple scene where there's two people having a conversation in the room, how many times does the perspective of the camera change? It's constantly changing. You don't just sit with the camera watching two people talk. It's changing from the side of someone's face to the back of the room, to the top of the room, to below. The camera is constantly changing where it's located. So your frames and the clips that you're putting in these videos have to be no longer than like 1 to 2.5, 3 seconds long. If it's longer than that, a viewer gets bored and they just scroll to the next one. If you guys think about how fast we scroll sometimes, that's kind of population dependent, depending on kind of the age group you're in. It really quickly, they'll just go to the next thing because they're not interested. Really think about your audience here, because if we're making videos, like your primary audience, let's say you're selling to teenagers and young adults, they're going to want loud music, bright colors, and fast changing videos. So if you're not acclimating your content to that audience, they're going to scroll right past you and not take any time to kind of get interested. If you're selling to an older audience, they like slower content that's comprehensible, that they can read easily, that makes sense to them. So you want to keep that in mind. Some good tools to use are voiceovers. We love to watch voiceovers. Narrators are great. And then text. How often are we in the dentist office watching videos on our phone, but we don't want the volume up? So we like to watch videos that have the text that we can basically read what that person's saying while they do a voiceover. That is really helpful as well. That's something I personally need to work on, but it helps. Clean backgrounds for reels. That is kind of an awkward topic, but it's a good thing to bring up. And this goes for photos as well. When we think about those super famous Instagram influencers and businesses, everything looks unrealistic. It's the house is spotless. They're wearing a full face of makeup, a full thing of hair. And you're like, that's literally so unrealistic. I agree. It's completely unrealistic, but it's showing all the effort that they're putting into their videos. So don't shoot videos in a dirty, messy room or environment. You can set up a little shooting area in your house. It doesn't have to be over the top. I really struggle doing hair and makeup for videos. I don't want to do it, not my own house, but I need to try to put that effort in because your viewers can tell when you're not putting the effort in. And then another thing that does super, super well are series. So viewers love documented series, so part 1, part 2, and it gives them a reason to follow you because they want to see the next video. I don't know how many home renovation project profiles I have followed because I want to see what the house looks like at the end. So those are great options as well to kind of help you get the ball rolling. So photos versus reels, they're both important. Reels isn't the only #1 thing you need to focus on. The reels are going to bring the followers from all over, right? It's going to go into the algorithm. People are going to scroll and they may not follow you and they're going to find your video. So reels bring the followers to the profile, and then the photos that are curated on your profile are sorry guys, I got tongue tied. That's what's going to make them hit the follow button, is that collaborative profile that you put effort into, that they click on to check out. That's going to make them hit the follower button. Okay, so we're going to get into part 2, but we're going to kind of go over what we learned so far. So we wrote down our target audience. That's the demographics. That's who we want to see the videos and buy our products. We have that written down. We know that we got to have a clean profile with some etiquette to it. So when we do get that target in, they're going to hit the follow button. And we know that the photos are what hit the follow button and the videos are what pull them in. So what's next? Now we want to master our Instagram analytics. And you might go, well, what's the Instagram analytics? It's a content report card. And what's on the report card? I'm going to spew a lot of words at you, but I'm going to go ahead and read what's going to be on that report card. It's how many unique users saw your post, how many times your post was seen, how many people interact with posts, how many new followers you gained over a period of time, information about your followers' age, gender, and location, which posts receive the most engagement, and when your audience is most active. So now we have the opportunity to see where we're at, and now we can think about how we're going to move forward. Okay, so where do we even find our analytics? This is a help page from Instagram themselves. You need to make sure that your account is designed correctly as either a business or a creator. I'm listed as a digital creator. That's where I fit into. Most of you guys, I'm sure when you created the profiles, did as a business. And then you're going to go to your profile. You're going to click on the professional dashboard to see insights. And then you're going to go ahead and go from there. That's really overwhelming, right? Well, I actually have a little video that kind of I'm going to show you guys my own professional dashboard because I've got nothing to hide. There's nothing juicy in there. So we're going to look and kind of see what that's going to look like with a video. So this is my profile here. We're going to click the professional dashboard. I just did this yesterday. All right, so now we're going to stop. Don't get distracted by your tools. There's all these buttons and tabs. That's great. You can totally dig into this and play with this, but that's not what's going to help us today. Today, we're going to look at the accounts we're reaching, the accounts that are actually engaging with what we're posting, and then what our actual followers are doing. So today in the video, I just click accounts reached, and we're going to look at those analytics right there. So I'm going to click on that. Okay, we're going to pause. So right here, it's showing me how many followers I'm reaching and then how many non-followers. This is how many out of this 47,000, 67% of those are people that don't already follow me. They're out in the algorithm scrolling, okay? And then we'll scroll down a little bit. Shot this really slow. Okay. So here's followers and non-followers for post, reels, and stories. It's going to go through kind of my top content. Now, this can change. These are the top cities that are viewing. This will change dramatically. Sorry if you can hear my cat making noise. This will change dramatically if you're traveling. So like if I go down to WRCA in Amarillo, Texas, and I tag Amarillo, Texas, this is going to spike in Amarillo. And it's good to tag your areas. If you do travel for work, that will definitely help. If you like go to a convention center and you post what you're doing at the convention center, absolutely tag where you were at. These are the top countries. There's been times where Mexico and Canada or Brazil has spiked for me, but I want to try to keep it in the United States. That's what I want. All right, this one's a big one. So top age ranges. This is exactly where I want it. I want young women, 18 to 34, to be watching my content. I don't want 13 to 17-year-olds seeing it. Is it because my content's inappropriate? Absolutely not. But if I'm doing product promotion, a 13 to 17-year-old may not have the money to buy a product. I want it to be this group right in here. And 35 to 44, you guys might want that audience as well, and you'll just have to kind of play with your content to grab their attention. But this group is on their phone less. This group is a lot more reliant on using social media. So, and I think it has one more, gender, perfect. So this is where I want this to be. I want 75% of women to be viewing my content and then about 25% of them to be men. Just because primarily I'm doing fashion, and then sometimes I have products that would be something men would be interested in, but that's right where I want it. I used to be a little bit more 50-50. And then when I started moving to women's fashion, it changed. So that's something that's really something fun to watch, to see how that goes. So you're going to have to play with it. There's a lot in there. It gets overwhelming. You're not going to screw anything up by clicking around in there, but just play with it and dig deep, and then you can kind of see where you're at. All right, now we're going to stretch your brains a little bit. Your goal should be a high engagement rate instead of lots of followers. You cannot measure success by followers. And that's crazy, because that was all I was focused on, is I just want a lot of followers. Then that means I'm doing good. So what is engagement rate? What does that word even mean? And what does it look like? So we've got a photo right here, and this is my engagement rate. Engagement rate is an equation. So it's your interactions. What's an interaction? It's going to be your likes and your comments and your shares divided by the number of followers. And then that's going to give you that engagement rate number right here. So this is my number of followers, 56,000. 2% of the 56,000 interact with my content. We're going to look at another chart that's going to make some more sense. So where can anybody be at? I really want you guys to focus on this bottom line down here. This is the amount of followers. So this is also from a free website called Flanks. They're great. You just go ahead and plug profiles in. It'll show you where you're at or where other people are at. So 1 to 5,000. Why does this make sense? Because your mom and your cousin and your grandma and your neighbor and everybody personal is liking that content. That's why that number is so high. 5 to 20,000. It's still pretty high. I remember when I was at just 10,000 followers, I didn't realize what I had. I had some seriously high engagement rates. Like, I didn't realize what that even was, but I was having quite a few likes, quite a few interactions. Everybody knew what I was doing, and I was relevant per se. And then it can kind of bounce around. These two are pretty equal, 20,000 to 100,000. So we'll go back. I'm at 56,000. I'm at 2.36%. And so I'm like right here. So I'm below the average. And that's because I'm posting like once a week, and I've really kind of taken a step back from Instagram for right now. If I were to hustle in the summer and post horses every day, it would probably jump back up. So then when we get to 100,000 to 1 million, it just goes down, and then over 1 million, it goes down even more. So we're going to look again at some more charts to kind of see why followers aren't as important as your engagement. So Red Bull is kind of the golden standard for businesses, and I think they do really, really well. It is hard to compare engagement rates of celebrities and influencers in comparison to businesses. But real quick, we're going to look at this 25 or 26 million followers. They have about 1 million likes out of 25 million followers and 7,000 comments. So if we go back, they're over 1 million. And so they're sitting right where they should be. They're doing great. Red Bull's doing really, really well. Now let's go ahead and look at Kim Kardashian. She's at 356 million. That's a lot. But out of 356 million followers, she's only averaging about 1 million likes. Sorry, one moment. Sorry. Okay. So out of 356 million followers. She's only averaging 1 million likes, and that's the same amount of likes as Red Bull. Why is that? So Red Bull figured out if they're just posting cans of Red Bull, they are not successful. What does Red Bull post? They just post really cool stunts and videos, and people interact with that and they love it. So again, 356 million followers. So she's like way up here over 1 million, and she's below 1%. So that's why followers is not nearly as important as your engagement. So let's go ahead and look at some examples from the Western industry. Here's Boot Barn. We're at 584,000 followers. So let's go ahead and look where they should be at. They're at 0.56%. So they should be at the 3.78 range, and they're below 1%. So they're not doing super great. They've got an average of 3,000 likes out of 584 people. Why is that? Because they genuinely post product as an advertisement. They're slowly really stepping up the game with the videography. They're posting really cool videos of authentic cowboys, and it is working. But it's hard when you just primarily post products. People don't always care as much. So that's why Red Bull over here figured it out, and they rarely will post actual product photos. That doesn't mean you guys have to do that. There's a great way to incorporate products to get high engagement, but it's something to think about. So this is a different website. This is Wrangler. Wrangler has almost 1 million followers. So they're pretty high in the follower game, but look how low that engagement rate is. Again, they're almost to 1 million, and they're still less than 1%. And why is that? They're only posting basically advertisement like stuff. So, and a lot of these bigger companies don't care because they're still successful. They're not so worried about it. But it can make a big change when you try to actually make some engaging content, then you're going to have that spike. So moving forward, guys, we want to master those analytics. We want to understand them. We want to know where we're at so we can get where we want to go. If we get into our analytics and we realize that we're selling women's products, but we've got mostly men looking at our content, that's an issue. We want to change that. We want to change our content to get more women to see, or the correct age group to be involved. We want to understand our audience. So if we're trying to make content for a particular age range, we need to change it so they will become interested in it. And that's all part of your battle plan of how you're going to fight the algorithm to get the people that you want, to grab them with your videos, bring them to your profile, they see your pretty pictures, and they hit the follow button. And then after they hit the follow button, they're going to start buying products. So that is what I have just for kind of the basics of knowledge that I can give you guys. With that worksheet, I would suggest filling it out with the analytics of where you're at, play around with it, and then have a second worksheet or a second colored pen of where you want to get to. What's your goal? And how do you, where do you want your demographics at? Where do you want your followers at? Where do you want your engagement rate at? So you can kind of have a projection plan from there. All righty, and you guys are more than welcome to ask questions.
I had posed in the group yesterday that asking some of you to share your top Instagram posts that you had recently. And I know, Joy, you shared one and you said, ouch, I just realized I want to do something different. Anyway, Stacy says, what filter do you use for your photos?
So I use Lightroom, and Lightroom is a pretty complicated photo editing app, but I buy my presets from a professional photographer, and then I am able to download the filter and then apply it in the photos. A more beginner friendly one would be Tezza. That's a great app to use. I try to find photos, like I primarily take photos in direct sunlight outside. So I had to find a filter that works well with direct sunlight outside. If I take a photo inside, it can really look really blue. So make sure you find where you're generally taking photos, and that filter does really well for you. And it is hard, like between summer and winter, how we move in and out, and it can be hard with products. So just play around with some things, experiment until you find something you like.
All right. The next question is, do you use ChatGPT?
I've not played with it very much. No, not yet.
All right. Patty's asking, with you being in fashion, what type of post do you do that's not advertising your product? Patty, I'm going to have her clarify something before she answers that. So can you talk for however long about what it's like to be an influencer and work with product companies? That might be a good background to this question.
So, my whole goal, and it's a silly goal, is when I started my Instagram, I was like, I want to work with product companies. So I started my Instagram by just, here's my story. These are my horses. And I got the traction going, and people were really interested in that. They were following me for that. Then all of a sudden I got bigger and companies wanted to work with me. So then I changed my gears, and almost all the content I did was product promotion, and my ratings and my analytics kind of tanked. But I figured now I've got it down to a balance. But normally products or companies will come to me and they said, hey, can we give you this product in exchange for you to make content? And then they can have a contract in place. They can pay me for it as well. Depends kind of how much the product is worth. And then we kind of figure it out from there. I do not do this full time. So it's very rare that I'm making a lot of money off doing that. But that's kind of how that goes. But back to your question, Patty. Brands started asking for us to use products in an authentic way. They wanted us to make it not seem like an advertisement. Like, this is just something I'm using every day. Like, if a video or a picture is blatantly screaming advertisement, nobody's interested. Because they see it all the time now. Like, they're done. So I have to kind of incorporate a product like I'm using it every day. I remember years ago, I did this family was hand making little horseshoe hat holders. And I made a video like I was using it day to day. And then I kind of sped off at the end where someone could get one. But it wasn't blatantly an advertisement. And so many people bought them. They had like 80 hat racks on their garage floor. They didn't even know what to do because so many people were kind of tricked into liking it and didn't realize it was an advertisement. So sometimes the posts are pretty blatantly advertisements because I don't really have a choice, but I try to incorporate it like it's an everyday thing, and not just try to shove a product in somebody's face because they don't want that. It just doesn't work anymore. So if that answers your question, hopefully it does.
Anyone want to ask one? You don't have to do it in the chat. You're welcome to
yeah, you can unmute. And if there are no questions, that's okay too.
All right. Well, we'll wait for a few more questions and I'll give a few more announcements about what else is coming. So if you were here at the beginning, you heard me have Tori chat about how she met Faith, and between the three of us, as we've been brainstorming, we have several topics that we want to bring out into Cowgirl Biz and into our Facebook group, as well as onto our public Cowgirl Biz profiles to share with you more things. For those of you that are in our Facebook group, we have a very fast growing group that's now at, I think, 9,300, and it's only approximately 4 months old. It's been fantastic. It's one of the most exciting groups in the Cowgirl brand and industry world, from the perspective of we're very supportive. We want to see all of our businesses succeed. It didn't start out as a business per se, but the group grew into what we formed about a month and a half after the group started. I formed cowgirlbiz.com, which is a directory for cowgirl businesses and brands. We're also adding a special cowgirl artist gallery, which we're excited about. We're going to have, and it's already just started, the Western photographers directory, where you'll be able to find Western photographers. We've started sharing stories on our blog about our brands that are participating with us, so you can read all about their fabulous stories of how they got started and see their amazing products. So we have so many fun things planned, as well as many things that are already in the works on the directory. From a business standpoint, it's some of you who are on our last Zoom call heard me talk about my passion in life is entrepreneurship. I love anything business and I love anything cowgirl. I seriously believe that the cowgirls in this world have so much heart and soul and passion in what they do. Cowgirls are amongst the most brave people I've ever met in my whole life. Truly grit, grace. We make it through the hard parts of life. We figure out how to succeed. And that is the foundation of the group, was around those principles along with collaboration. I'm a huge proponent of anything we can do to build our businesses related to networking and collaboration. In fact, that was one of the reasons I started the group to begin with. So if you're in the group, you're enjoying that aspect. If you're not yet in the group, it's free. You're welcome to join. The collaboration and networking is fantastic. Specifically with Faith and Tori, we have some exciting things we're trying to bring to the table, which are going to be along the lines of sharing more about product photography tips. You heard Faith talk a little bit just now about what it's like to work with an influencer, but there's a lot more that we can share. We could have a whole session just on what that's like, the contracts involved, and oftentimes a product company can work with an influencer and not have to have a contract, but in some cases there are contracts. So we'll go over what both of those types of things are as we get into we have to still schedule that session. I'm just telling you it's coming. So anyway, we're super excited about that. And then with Tori's network, as well as Faith's network of people that they know, we're trying to build out more of an influencer group. I'm not going to call it a Facebook group, but influencers that product companies in our Cowgirl Biz can work with. Yet to be determined exactly how that will come to be, but obviously with Tori's network of all the rodeo queens and with Faith's network of the influencers and other people that they know, together we are excited to be able to make something unique happen in this industry. So and then I'm just going to share a little bit more about the main course and community that we're starting on February 10th. Some of you have heard about it. We're calling it Cowgirl Biz Rodeo. That whole course and community was originally intended to be a 7-day challenge. And we realize we have so much to teach you and so many things that we think can make a huge difference in your business. We're going to start that out with the brand exercise that some of you have already started. And I know I owe you a PDF about those first 3 steps of that, where you analyze your competitors, figure out what makes you different, how to create your key messages in the marketing world. And then we're going to start to analyze your competitors and start to help you figure out your keywords and your SEO, your search engine optimization. Maggie will be teaching a huge part of the SEO component and helping with copywriting tips and tricks for your about page and for your website. And then we're going to include Caitlin, who is also in our group and runs a boutique and an e-commerce store. She's going to be talking about the buyer's journey from the perspective of real life as a business owner, what she's learned in the course of her journey in terms of making her website as friendly as possible to the buyer. And then Maggie will tie that back to SEO as well and how to implement the SEO to help with that journey. And then at the end of the Cowgirl Biz Rodeo, we're going to start to share with you tips on how to use everything you just learned with your brand exercise and with your SEO to start to create very unique and creative ads that you can use in Facebook advertising and Google advertising. So we're super excited about it. Enrollment will close on February 10th. We will be doing one more workshop that's going to be public, as well as the kickoff for the Cowgirl Biz Rodeo on Monday, the 10th. And so you'll hear more about that as well. So, okay, we will take a few more questions and answers, or take time for a few more questions and answers if we have them. Let's see if we have any more that came into the chat. Okay, we shared the worksheet again, link to the Facebook group. Okay. Jenna asked, how do stories play a role in engagement and keeping followers interested?
So stories play a huge part. If you guys see that little, there should be a little chart on your worksheet on just kind of a posting schedule. Do you guys know when you get into Instagram and the little stories pop up and you kind of like watch the stories of the people that you're most interested in that constantly pop up? So what you want is to constantly have something on your story so it keeps popping up on your viewers, so they keep seeing something popped up. If you're constantly staying in their brain that's important. So stories are a piece of cake to use. They're fun. You could put anything on there. Excuse me. Well, it's sharing other posts, your own products, day in the life, anything at all, right? It's a really flexible, easy tool to use. So I would say constantly have something on your story. Now there's people that have like 80 stories, and that's a lot. So you don't need to like absolutely flood your story. But if you have 5 to 10 things a day or 2 things a day, that's great. You constantly want something on there every day. You don't have to, but it's going to help you because you're staying relevant in the viewer. And you're constantly popping up on their page, so they're thinking about you. So that's a great tool to use. All right, I think we're ready for the next one.
Awesome. Okay. Last call. Any other questions?
I have a question. I was
Yeah.
super late, so sorry if if you already said this, but I guess it ties into stories and reels. Are you using a content calendar and can you pre-make stories, or do you have to create the stories and the reels like current time?
Not at all. You can, I am not a professional with scheduling stories, but I'm pretty sure there's a way to do it. And then you absolutely can schedule your reels and your posts. So that's where if you have kind of a calendar for the week and you're like, all right, I did one day, you work all day on getting your content pulled together. You can have it scheduled all week to just pop up when you want it. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And it'll post when you tell it to.
Yeah, so I use GoDaddy for that, and it doesn't give me the tool to be able to do the stories or the reels from that. And so I'm just wondering if anyone has a different tool, like a marketing calendar tool that will allow that.
Tori,
yeah, go ahead.
Let me interrupt and have Tori talk for just a minute if you can about how you've been scheduling ours.
Yeah, Joy just said it too. Meta Business Suite is absolutely free and it connects your Instagram, Facebook, and all your socials. You can go ahead and schedule stories and posts through there. So super easy, super user-friendly. So definitely try the Meta Business Suite if you haven't yet. That's a great tool. And then on your worksheet, there's a couple other, I think we put in later, Meta Business Suite, and then Instagram itself also has a scheduler. I don't know about stories, but I know you can schedule posts within Instagram too.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, one more question here for Faith. This is from Crystal. She says, how do you know the best times to post?
So that's, again, is going to be in your analytics. So when you click your Instagram, it's going to tell you, you got to dig in there, but it'll pop up when your followers are most active. So, it really can be different for everybody. For a while, it was like 3 o'clock. Most people were on their phone looking at my posts. So your analytics are going to tell you when people are most, active. And again, that's going to tie in with your scheduling. You can pick the exact day and time you want that post to go, whatever time of day it is. And then you'll see some better results from that.
All right. Rebecca is asking, how often should we be posting to our profile?
So I would say, when I first tried to get my ball rolling, I was really trying to post once a day. That's hard to do. But if you do like a big content day and you got 10 photos, there's 10 days of posts or 10 videos or whatever you do. Try to post once a day, every other day, whatever you could do. The more you post, the better. It's that cheesy saying where consistency is best. We hear that word all the time, but it does work, especially when it comes to reels. But yeah, try to post once a day is a good goal to have. If you don't meet it, no big deal, but that's a good.
Awesome. Okay. All right. And Tori shared your Instagram. Patty was asking. All right. Sarah says, do you think hashtags are still relevant and essential?
Absolutely. When I started, I flooded it with hashtags. They're harmless. They're not going to hurt you. So I would include anything relevant to your post. Hashtags are a great tool to try to get to your target audience. If you do hashtag cowgirls, I used to do hashtag long hair because I was trying to reach products for girls with long hair. I can curate that post with hashtags to try to reach that particular audience that I want. Hashtag Texas, hashtag Wyoming, hashtag ranch life, whatever you want to do. You can try to use those hashtags to curate to that particular audience you're trying to reach. So they're absolutely still relevant. I know people think, oh, they're whatever. They're harmless. They're not going to hurt you. So absolutely still use them.
All right, next question is from Tracy. She says, and what about posting the same video on all platforms? Should you vary them, making them each different?
Make them all the same. I do not have any other platforms other than Instagram, but it's very easy for me to link it to a Facebook. So it does not have to be different at all. All the videos across the board are not a big deal at all. You don't have to think outside the box. The only thing to keep in mind is that your older population might use the Facebook more, and then your younger population might use Instagram more. So maybe if you did want to change it up, you would curate your content to get to those audiences different. Otherwise, posting the same thing to both is not a big deal.
Joy is asking, can you show on the professional dashboard where to see the user active times? Oh, we lost your volume there, Faith.
I can play with it for a second and see if I can get it to pull up. I don't know if it will on a computer, but I can definitely try. You guys can chat away as I try to maybe get in here.
What if you go on your, do you have your phone right there?
You want me to log in on Zoom on my phone, maybe?
No. Just go, hold your cell phone up and put it on professional dashboard. Might be easier.
Yeah. No, that'd definitely be a lot easier.
Okay.
This is why I need you guys to help me because I can't. Try to think about how to do it.
And I did forget to say that one of the upcoming sessions we want to do is really dig into analytics and have her go through a lot more than what she did today. So that's also on the plans. Okay, Rebecca's helping us. Click on the followers and scroll down to the bottom. Okay, let's see if we can see
I don't
this.
know if it's going to work with the glare. I'm going to try. So there's the followers, total followers, that third one, like in the video. And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it's going to show you your most active times.
Perfect. All right. Rebecca's helping us too. She says you can also do it. Oh, yeah, from the professional dashboard. Okay. Awesome. Anything else, ladies? All right. Thank you, Faith. Thank you,
No problem.
Tori.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.